Hi, Mike for the Fulcrum. We're on our way back to our Marsh Camp. As you can hear that in the background, spring has arrived in the marsh. Spring peeper frogs, red-winged blackbirds staking out territory. So we're going to hike on back over through to the Marsh Camp, have a look around, sit down, have a bit of a read. We're going to trip up through the back trail and just check and see if there's any new sign of activity. Things are starting to green up here and there. Won't be long now before this trail is so clogged up with new spring growth that it'll be hard to walk through. 20 years ago when I first came through this trail, hardly any of these trees were here. This was a site where they used to dump landfill from city development. As you can see, most of the trees here are about 20 years of age or younger. There's a few of the original trees in the back. But when I first came through, this was literally just an open field with little hills and valleys. Nature takes it back eventually. Now the swans are back, staking out nesting territory. Now, the odd thing about this pair here is there's always a goose. You see him there, who hangs around this pair. And when the male goes out looking for food and leaves the female by herself, this goose comes courting. He'll get within about 15 feet of the female swan and just circle around and watch her. When Daddy gets home, he chases him off. This has been going on now, at least 5 years. I don't know what the story is. Possibly he was adopted by the swans as a lost gosling. I don't know. Probably never will know, but it's interesting to think about. So we're going to trek up the back trail here into the Marsh Camp. Bit of a brambly mess getting the back way to the Marsh Camp. You can hear the spring peepers going at it. Romance is in the air in Marshland. You can see here how I marked the trail entrance. This was once an old road that cut back in. It's now long overgrown. Once you get past the initial brambles that hide the way in, find the trail. Things have dried up nicely back in here now. Cyrus Muttley loves it back in here. He can go off leash and wander around, not bother anybody. You see the moss is really greening up. Tried to leave the trail as natural as possible. And even knowing my way in, still by times I gotta think about it. The sun has come out, gorgeous. It's about just under 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And here we are. I leave my folding chair here and an extra walking stick. And we'll sit down and have a bit of a read. Well, back at the Marsh Camp. I often find when you're off by yourself, thoughts enter your head right out of the blue. The ancients used to call it the muses. They would inspire you by whispering inspiration into your ear. Music, science, whatever. And sometimes questions pop into your head like, how come no one ever wrote a manual about how to be a man? Or how to get out of troublesome situations? Well, someone actually has. I was clearing out some of my old books and I came across this one called The Complete Worst Case Scenario Survival Handbook, Man Skills by Jonathan Priven, David Borsnich, and Ben H. Winters. I originally had purchased it for my son, but when he flew the nest, he left the book with me. Which is interesting because every time I look at the book, I remember things that he and I did together, getting out in the woods and walking about. Anyway, here's a little bit about the introduction to this book. Being a man is a dangerous business. From the days of the Round Table when chivalrous knights were always riding out to defend the honor of some maiden and ending up on the wrong end of a lance, we men have had our work cut out for us. The modern young gallant doesn't have it much easier. Chained in his necktie, flat front khaki trousers, he navigates a daily round of pitfalls from nasty bosses, wicked sand traps, to the searing flames leaping off the barbecue grill. Well, hardly as dangerous as being a knight or a soldier in the old days. And then, of course, there's the greatest danger that a man faces. Woman. Not surprising. The presence of a woman in our lives causes men no end of difficulties, from having to field questions like, do I look fat in this? To figure out the best way to apologize when you don't know exactly what you did wrong. But women aren't the main problems. The main thing is that gets us men into dangerous situations is, well, ourselves. It's a belief cherished in the heart of every man, single and married, young and old, that he is James Bond. No amount of reality checking will convince a man he is not, deep down, dashing, glamorous, super genius involved in a series of top-secret adventures. And while most of us don't carry guns, we do have something in our pants that frequently gets us into foolhardy situations. So firm in his belief that he can handle any situation, the man puts way too much faith in his ability to do so. For example, find his way home without asking directions, make a sandwich without looking up from the TV. If you're a man, you know you've heard yourself say things like this. Of course I can grill a steak. Of course I can open a beer bottle without an opener. Of course I can take that guy. Not really, lass, you really can do all those things you said you could. And it's true. This book is just loaded. I know it's probably backwards in the writing. I'll put a description below. This book is full of great stuff, and it's a great read. It's an awful lot of fun. Yeah, the book has a lot of great stuff in it. For example, how to deal with a charging bull. That's something you deal with every day, but you never know. How to survive a pirate attack. I suppose if you're sailing your yacht in the Caribbean, it might be a fun thing. How to lose someone who is following you. Determines you're actually being followed. If you suspect a trail, observe the car as you continue to drive. If the car remains behind you, make 3 or 4 turns in a row to see if they continue to follow you. Then signal in one direction and turn quickly in the other direction and see if the other car does as well. Once you're certain you're being followed, get on a highway or drive to a populous or active area. Do not drive home to a deserted space or down an alley. You're more likely to shake your tail in a crowd than a deserted area. Seems wise information. How to hotwire a car. I mean, one way of getting away from a tail, you dump your car and steal somebody else's. How to deal with a fire under the hood. So it covers things like, from all aspects, like anything you could think of, they got a solution. For example here, how to leap from a motorcycle to a car. So if you're thinking of a changing career to stuntman, that would be a good thing to know. How to pee in a car while stuck in traffic. Well, I have been there. It's handy to have a large thermos bottle, preferably after you've drank all your tea out of it. How to survive a bungee jumping disaster. But there's some interesting stuff in here as well. It's just not so funny. For example, survival time in water. Water conducts about 25 times more efficiently than air, which is why hypothermia and wetness go together. Even warm water can lower your body temperature to a dangerous level. So water temperature just above freezing, loss of dexterity in less than 2 minutes. That's why a lot of people drown falling through the ice. How to spot a card cheat. Oh, here's an interesting one. I often thought about taking lessons. Fencing lessons. Well, it's on my bucket list. How to win a sword fight. Step up into the blow with your arms held against your body. React quickly and against your instincts, which will tell you to move back and away. By moving closer, you cut off a blow's power. Avoid extending your arms, which would make your own counter blow less powerful. Now remember that. How to open a bottle without an opener. Rather lengthy article on grilling. How to get entry into an exclusive nightclub. Pick-up lines to avoid. The human body is 90% water, and I'm real thirsty. Oh my goodness. Do you have a mirror in your pants? Because I can see myself in them. So as I said, great little book. Wonderful read. I don't have, at this point, have an Amazon account or anything to put a link in, but if I can find this on Amazon, I'll put a link in anyway, and I'll worry about getting a Amazon account later. So if anyone does happen to click on that, I can add a little bit to the beer fund. I hope you've enjoyed this little trip back to the Marsh Camp and about good reads. I'm going to be doing a regular segment on good reads for men. This one is really a lot of fun. I mean, anything you could ever possibly run into and things you wouldn't even think about at all is in this book, in a way of getting around it. There's even a section on how to fight an alligator. So just remember, think clearly, breathe deep, and enjoy each day. This is Mike from the Fulcrum. Oh, before I forget again, like and subscribe.